Welcome back to Excel for Educators. This is the final lesson, Lesson 3 in the Intermediate series for Roll Your Own Gradebook. And in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at building the dynamic graphs that go along with our gradebook. Just a reminder that you can download the workbook that goes along with this tutorial and play along at home. Alright, so far in this series, we've set up two different data validation lists, one to select the class and another to select students. We also used a very simple if statement to set up how our standards can be filled in. So here Excel is checking to see what is in cell C4 and then filling in this cell accordingly. And last of all, we did some more complicated if statements that also use the index and match functions so that we're pulling data for the correct student and into the correct place. Alright, so our last step is to build these dynamic graphs. They're going to go for our all scores and to show growth. We're going to go back to our formulas page. And I like to put the statements here, the formulas that we're going to use to build the graph. You don't have to. One of the reasons why I like to do this here is that it just keeps the workbook looking clean. And if you watch the beginner series, you know that we actually put some of this information below the student scores themselves. But this time we're going to put it here. So what I'm going to build here is just some information for our graphs. And we're actually going to use the exact same formula that we used in the last session. So what we said was if, and we've been using P1 biology. So on the report, and that was C4, and I'm going to lock this cell, string C, string 4. If that equals P1 biology. Okay, now we need a value if true, and here's where we're going to go pull these values. So we're going to use our index, and this time we want it to index these scores because it's going to be part of our line chart, and eventually we're going to capture all of these in a line graph. Okay, so we're going to index those, and we're going to match them based on the value of what's in report C6, okay, because that was the one with the last name. We're going to match that with our list of last names, if I can spell. It needs to be an exact match. Alright, so this is starting to look very similar to what we used last time. Let's do the one for chemistry now. So index. Remember, this is our value if it's false. So if there's not P1 biology here, we're telling Excel to go to the chemistry sheet. We want to index that. Okay. And we need to match it with what's in the report, with the cell with the last name, and our list of last names for chemistry students, and an exact match. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. It says I didn't put enough close parentheses at the end. I needed 3 and I put 2, but there's our answer. Okay, so the nice thing about setting this up, and I know that this is a long formula I have to try and remember, is that you can now just use your fill tool and go to the right. Okay, how many cells to the right? Well, it depends on the maximum number of cells between biology or chemistry that you need. They both start with column C, but biology ends at I and chemistry ends at J. So we're going to need to go the farthest out that we have for either of those. So C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay, but we're going to have to make a little change at the end here. Okay, so it's chemistry is just for the J. But for biology, we actually don't need the J column here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this index function and just tell Excel that if we're talking about biology, to leave it blank. So 2 sets of quotes there. Okay, we can also take out our extra formulas there. Okay. So now we're all set. In this line, I'm just going to put the line that's going to represent what at standard performance is. We did this in the beginner series as well. I'm just going to fill that across. Alright, so let's grab our scores that are going to represent what happens if there's growth over time. Now if we look back, for biology we don't have any growth for the first standard because it only occurred in quarter 2. But chemistry has it. So we're just going to write these for chemistry. In fact, we can go up here and grab this formula, because remember this was just for chemistry. So I'm going to select it, copy it, and then paste it over here. And what do I need to change? I need to change the columns. So they're going to be the next column over. So it's going to be K. And then if I just fill, it'll be an L. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a moment and fill in the rest of the information, and then we will build our graphs. Alright, I finished putting in my data. You'll notice that there are some points that look invisible, even though we have a formula there, and again it's because we've told Excel to leave it empty if the conditions aren't met. So depending upon which student and which class we have showing on the report, you may have some empty cells. So from here on out, you've got smooth sailing. All you're going to do on your report now is build the graphs the same way that we did with the beginner series. So to add the line graphs, just a reminder, I'll scroll down a little bit so we can see here. Grab your line graph, select your data, and this time you're going to pull it from the formulas sheet. So here's what we're going to use for our line graph. And then remember to go through your cleanup here. So we don't need the legend or the horizontal axis. We can change the colors here a little bit to make them stand out better. I'm actually going to pick this other line, make it a slightly deeper red and a little less visible. So I'm going to lighten the weight on the line a little bit. Okay. We can make our grid lines a little lighter. And then last of all, we're going to finish this axis. Remember that by fixing your axis, you'll be able to copy these graphs a lot more easily. Okay, now that it's fixed, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm also going to get rid of the border on the chart. And then lock it in terms of size. And now I can shrink it down and put it in my dashboard. Okay, so that one's ready to auto-update. Let's go ahead and do a quick bar graph here, or the column graph for Excel, to show growth. Alright, again, select data, go back to your formulas page. We're going to pull it here this time. Get rid of our legend, get rid of our horizontal axis. I'm going to format our data series. So fill here, we want it to be nice and black so that we can see it. And this data series, we're going to change to a line graph so that we can see a nice little bar of where the performance should be. Okay, so if I select that, I don't want any markers. I don't want those little round things on the end. Line color is going to be a nice deep red. A little bit lighter weight. Okay, now we can change the colors on our grid lines, make those a little bit lighter. Fix our axis. So from 0 to 4, 1 being the minor unit there. Okay, now that's locked. Nope. Gonna change our chart area to get rid of any border. We're going to lock the ratio and then move it into place. Alright. So there you go. Now keep in mind that you can copy either of those charts and then just paste them down below. All you'll have to do once you've done that is go back to design and select the data set. So that makes that really easy once you've got them formatted appropriately. Okay, so let's do one more check. Let's see here, we can change that, and this is blank because we don't have the right a student that's in this class yet, so we'll change it to a class or a student that should be there. Remember, we don't have any growth for biology, so it's not going to show there, but otherwise everything is working fine, looking good. If you'd like the final version of this workbook, you can download it at the URL shown there. And I hope you'll come back when we do an advanced version as well. See you then.